Hi everybody, it's me Gemma, and this is my wrap up for February and the first 2 weeks of March. It is now the 15th of March and I have managed to read about 15 books or so. Not as busy a month for me as January. January I read so much, but I was doing some other things in February and March, which meant that I just wasn't watching, it meant I just wasn't reading as much. I was playing a new game called Greedfall, which is an RPG, and I spent a lot of hours playing that. It was really enjoyable. And also I was in Edinburgh with my mum seeing The Lion King, which was amazing. Thank you very much, mum. So I didn't read as much as I did in January, but I still read a fair amount. I think sometimes booktube can warp your perception of what a lot of books is. Like 15 books is a lot of books, but I was like, oh, I've only read like 11 books. Can I really even do a wrap up for that? And then I was like, don't be silly, of course it's a lot. So as soon as my Goodreads refreshes here. So I started the month off with Women in Power, a Manifesto by Mary Beard, and this is a transcription of a lecture she gave. I really enjoyed it. I like Mary Beard. She presents a lot of classical history programmes here in the UK on the BBC, and she's very interesting. She's very sort of down to earth classics professor at, I think it's Cambridge. I thoroughly recommend any of her books. I've also read SPQR, which was her history of the Roman Empire. I then moved on to Jane Doe by Victoria Helen Sloan, which is the first in a series. The new book's due to come out in, I believe, a couple of months' time. And this one is about a woman who, she's a psychopath, a sociopath, and the only person she's ever really cared about was her best friend. Her best friend, unfortunately, committed suicide after a really bad relationship with a guy, and Jane Doe blames this guy for her friend's death, and has determined that she's going to ruin his life. So she's determined that she's going to ruin his life, so she infiltrates his place of work, she starts a relationship with him, and it was a really great little revenge thriller which I thoroughly enjoyed. I really liked the character of Jane Doe, and I liked the sort of how ahead of everything she was. She reminded me a little bit of Hannibal Lecter from the Hannibal TV series in that sense. And I really liked the character. I think I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. If you like a good little thriller, I thoroughly recommend it. And then I read The One by John Mars. Now I saw this one floating about BookTube, and it's about like an app slash DNA test that matches you up with the one, or your genetic soulmate, and it follows sort of several different story threads of people who have taken this test, including the person who invented the test and people who have had their lives changed by it in one way or another. I thought it was a great premise, and a good throughout premise of quite a lot of soulmate AUs that I've read on like Archive of Our Own, which I really enjoyed, and I thought the ending was good. So yeah, I would recommend it. Again, good little thriller. And then I read A Night to Surrender, which is Spindle Cove #1 by Tessa Dare. I really liked this. I really like Tessa Dare in general. I read one of her books whenever I'm feeling kind of like slumpy and a bit I'm like, I could just pick up a little Tessa Dare book, and they are such little bite-sized things. They're so short, you know, they're like 200 and odd pages. I liked the heroine. She's set up like a sort of home for wayward girls in a way, almost, where she has set up this village that helps women who don't otherwise maybe fit in society for whatever reason. She helps them sort of find a path and find happiness on their own terms. And then Hero comes in and he is trying to help his men find a home. It's just really good. It's like, I liked the 2 lead characters, and I am looking forward to the other books that I have in the Spindle Cove series. And then read Deranged, The Shocking True Story of America's Most Fiendish Serial Killer by Harold Schechter. And this is about Albert Fish, or the great man who was a serial killer in the 20s and 30s. And it's one of those ones where you're just like, is this made up? Because it feels like it must be made up, but it's not. I think if you've read true crime, you've probably come across the story about Albert Fish and Grace Budd. And I really thought this was a good deep dive into Albert Fish himself and his past. I also recommend the last podcast on the left episodes on Albert Fish, which used this book as one of their sources actually, which is where I picked it up from. I thought it was a good story. It's one of those ones where you think, oh my god, how could this even happen? Like, it just seems like so much more of an innocent time, you know, that it just doesn't seem like it used to happen. But yeah, if you like true crime, you'll probably like this. It's got a completely bonkers story. Then I read A Killer's Wife by Victor Mythos, and this is again number 1 in a series. I got it as one of my I got it as my first read from Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, at least in the UK, you get the choice of several books for free that month as like a pre-release. And I picked this one because it sounded like a good thriller. And it's about a woman who, her husband was a serial killer. She didn't know. She only found out after he was caught. She gave birth to their daughter, and she's been ringing their daughter up. She's an FBI agent, and case comes up where it's like a copycat of her husband's crimes, and he somehow involved. They obviously want to get her involved. So yeah, it was fine. It wasn't my favourite even of the genre. I still prefer Rachel Kane's Stillwater Lake series. I think that's a better take on the premise, but this was okay. I gave it 3 stars, and you know, we're all probably going to be in quarantine soon, so I'm going to need that shit to read. So I then read In Her Shadow by Mark Edwards. Now, this again, first in a series, it was on Kindle Unlimited, and it's about, this took me ages to get through actually. It's about a woman whose sister died before the events of the book, and her daughter starts to sort of talk about her dead aunt and talk about things that she shouldn't know and stuff like that. And there's a whole thing where is her daughter psychic and stuff like that. And there's a sort of, I hesitate to say clumsy, but I found it pretty clumsy backstory that resembled the Enfield hauntings. If you know about the Enfield hauntings, you'll find the backstory in this really familiar, and you'll have seen the twist coming quite far away. I took me ages to get through it because I just wasn't really enjoying it, but I was determined to finish. Gave it 2 stars. Just wasn't what I wanted, but you know, somebody might like it, but just wasn't for me. I then read The Shark by Mary Burton, and this one is a thriller about a high stakes poker game where you have to bring a female victim as like your betting money down payment. And it's all about a female detective who has a dark past and has a connection to this thing. It was pretty good. I finished it, but I haven't moved on to read the next book in the series, if that gives you any indication. I wasn't a ginormous fan of Mary Burton's writing. I found it pretty predictable, so I just won't read the next one. You can tell why I ended up in a reading slump, can't you? Then I went on to read the first 5 books in the Detective Natalie Ward series by Carol Wire, which is The Birthday, Last Lullaby, The Dare, The Sleepover, and The Blossom Twins. And this focuses on a female police officer in the UK by the name of, funnily enough, Natalie Ward. And it follows these cases that she's doing. They're quite good detective thrillers. I think if you like Midsummer Murders or like Lewis or Endeavour or something, you'll probably like this. There is a bit of the detective's private life, but not too much that I find it annoying, although there was at one point where I was like, oh my god, just leave your husband, just throw him off a cliff. Put the whole man in the garbage. Put the whole man in the garbage. So yeah, I read the first 5 books, so obviously I liked them. There's another one coming out pretty soon. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. I think I gave them all 3 and 4 stars, so yeah, I would recommend the Detective Natalie Ward series. I think that's pretty good. And then I read another true crime. I read American Predator, The Hunt for the Most Meticulous Serial Killer of the 21st Century by Maureen Callahan. And this centres on the story of Israel Keyes, who, again, last podcast on the left did. Sorry, I'm so not used to having long hair that I keep playing with it. Last podcast on the left called him the new metal serial killer, which just made me laugh so much. Again, a really funny series of episodes on that. But it's a scary one because he was caught almost because of that deterioration at the end where he committed a crime too close to home and did things that he hadn't previously done that got him caught. And it's a really interesting story and I recommend you read it. Pardon me. And I recommend it. I would say the portion after he is caught and he's been interrogated is quite frustrating because of certain people that are involved, and also the fact that he was able to commit suicide in prison, thus sort of cementing the power dynamic he felt that he had over the sort of police. So quite a frustrating one, and one of those ones where they'll never probably know how many people he is actually responsible for the death of, but I do recommend it. Something that struck me about it quite similarly was, I think it was Anne Rule maybe that wrote about Ted Bundy, that he was always surprised when people noticed other people had gone missing, because of the way he thought and the way he felt. Like if someone went missing, they were just gone. And I feel like Israel Keyes thought something of the same. Like he did not understand how people would pursue their loved ones and what happened to them to the end of the year. So a good story by Maureen Callahan. I did try to read the audiobook, but I found the narration really basic and didn't really enjoy it. So I moved on to a physical copy, which I'm just accepting that me and audiobooks are not, we're not going to gel. So I then read No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville, and whoo boy, this is a scary shit. Now, I have already read a couple of Adam Neville's other books, The Ritual and The Reddening, and I've seen the Ritual movie real on Netflix. And Adam Neville does really scary folk horror, which is my favourite kind of horror. I love when it's like, you know, cults and worshipping the Celtic god shit. I breathe it. I love it. And this is about a girl called Stephanie who is having a really bad time in life. She's just lost a job. She's had to move out. She had to split up with her boyfriend. Her dad's died. She's just had a terrible time. And she takes up the offer of a room to rent in this nondescript house in Birmingham, and everything snowballs from there. The house is horrifically haunted. The people who rent out of the house are complete crazies, and there's something really dark that lives in the ground floor flat. It was great. I gave this one 4 stars, and I will keep working my way through Adam Neville's backstory. I think if you like Paul Tremblay's horror, I've seen Books and Lala talk quite a bit about him, and I've read some Paul Tremblay as well. I think if you like Paul Tremblay, you'll like Adam Neville, so I thoroughly recommend that. And then the last book I read this month was Feed by Mira Grant, which is, in fact, looking through my reading list, is actually the only physical book that I read in February, which feels weird, but apparently everything else I read on Kindle. So yeah, that was, let me just have a little count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 books that I read since my last wrap up, and I have so far read a total of 47 books this year out of my 150 book Goodreads goal. Will I get there? Probably. At the moment, I'm in the middle of reading a non-fiction about the hunt for HMS Terror and HMS Erebus, the ships that went lost in the Franklin expedition, and it's written by Paul something, and it's one of the guys that was actually on the team, so thoroughly enjoying that. I probably will read a lot more books because I have a terrible immune system and I'm probably going to be self-quarantining for at least 7 days, so we'll see how that goes. But let me know what you read down in the comments. I've got so many booktube videos to catch up with, so you'll probably see my name pop up in your comments in the next wee while. But anyway, it's really nice to be making videos again. I will see you all later. Love you. Bye.